What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are moving on from the MLB, our one episode hiatus from the NFL. We are moving into our Week 5 NFL predictions. Thank you for listening to the first 4 weeks. I hope you keep coming back. We're at Week 5, which means we are officially going to be over a quarter of the way through the NFL season. It is moving quite fast. Without further ado, we are going to move right into the results of Week 4's games and review them. Here we go. Game 1 of the week, we have the Cowboys and the Giants, a divisional Thursday night battle. It was a little bit closer than I expected to be. Cowboys didn't score as much as I thought. I think the Giants are figuring some things out. I think they're going to be tougher and tougher to beat. I still don't think they're a great team, but I think Dable has some things figured out and they're playing better. I mean, other than the score being close, really, or closer than I expected, this game kind of went how I thought it would. I think how a lot of people thought it would. Cowboys win, uh, get back to 500. Giants lose, stay under 500. Yeah, not a whole lot to say about that one. Who did I pick? I picked the Cowboys, giving me a 1-0 record on the week. We'll see if that continues. I don't think it does. Moving on to the second game of the week, the Jets and the Broncos. I thought it was going to be a game where the Jets reasserted themselves. But again, the Jets are the Jets, and they don't look like contenders after this week. They've really, I think, struggled outside of one game, and defense did its job, only giving up 10 points. But the offense has to be better than 9 points. It doesn't matter who the Jets are playing. If they want to win, their offense has to be better. And you would think with all the weapons and Aaron Rodgers, it would be. I don't know if it's a Nathaniel Hackett play calling or if Rodgers just doesn't have it. I don't know what the issue is, but the Jets do not look good offensively. And they lose to Denver by 1 point at home. Not a great loss. I'm not going to quite say embarrassing. The Broncos are 2-2 on the year. They've played some teams close. Their defense is playing well. Offense needs to catch up, but their defense is playing well. Kudos to the Broncos for winning this game. Not a good look for the Jets. They're definitely not the Super Bowl contenders everybody thinks they are. If only people would listen to me sometimes. Granted, I say that and I didn't have a good week, so I guess I can't be too braggadocious when I had the worst week of the season in picking games this week. Who did I pick? I did pick the Jets to win, even though I was just ragging on them a little bit. I did think they were good enough to win this game. They did not win it. Broncos did. I go to 1-1. Here we go. Game 3. It was definitely a close game. Like I said, it scored a little bit more points. I keep doubting the Vikings. They're one of the last 3 undefeated teams left. I want to keep doubting them, but if they keep winning games, if Sam Darnold keeps playing the way he is, I at some point I have to start picking them, right? I have to believe what I'm seeing at some point. The Vikings have almost made me believers and have almost made me believe, or at least almost got me to the point where I think that maybe this is just Sam Darnold on the Vikings. The Packers got down big early. They kind of struggled. The second half was much better. They scored some points. I think their defense needs to shore some things up, especially in the pass game. The Packers are scoring a lot of points, but a lot of games this season they've also given up a lot, and it's hard to outscore everybody, especially with the way some of these offenses are starting out the year. Good close divisional battle. Vikings now take the tiebreaker over the Packers temporarily. They stay 4-0. The Packers move to 2-2. They've had a tough early schedule though, and I was going to say the Vikings pulled away, but the Lions are still only one game back at 3-1. So, who did I pick to win? I did pick the Packers. I thought they were going to pick up the win at home. I was wrong, but I did think it would be a close game, and that's exactly what it was. I fought a 1-2 on the week. Let's move into the fourth game. Another divisional battle between two teams with playoff aspirations. It was in Atlanta here. Atlanta versus New Orleans. It was another good, tight divisional contest between two good teams. And the Falcons, with some defensive touchdowns, won the game. Their offense didn't move the ball as well as I thought it would. And I'm starting to get worried about the Falcons' offense because the offense is scoring some points, but not as much as I feel like they should be with the offensive weapons they have. And again, they scored, I believe, definitely one defensive touchdowns this week. So a lot of their scoring was wrapped up in defense and special teams. And if it was not for them scoring. Obviously, the Falcons probably don't win this game. The Saints, two losses in a row, two good teams, but losing by two to a divisional rival always sucks. And I think if you're the Saints, you obviously pointed to turnovers and think as the reason why you lose that game. Who did I pick? I did pick the Falcons, so at least I picked the Falcons. They didn't win the game. I thought the way I thought they would. Like I said, I even think last week I said it might have been a rock fight, but 26-24 is no rock fight. Moves me to 2-2 on the week. The Eagles and the Buccaneers. Coming into this game, both teams were 2-1. The Buccaneers have looked pretty good. The Eagles have looked decent. I think everybody but Jalen Hurts has looked good. And yeah, again, the Eagles offense struggled a little bit moving the ball. I mean, I guess the Buccaneers last week held the Lions to 17. Um, But yeah, Buccaneers with a massive win at home. They won big, doubled up the Eagles. Eagles didn't look good. Jalen Hurts hasn't looked good. Hasn't looked great, I should say. Kind of hasn't looked good. He's had some bad games already. Um, Everybody is still looking for 2022 Jalen Hurts, but all the credit needs to go to the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. Another great performance out of them. Another 30-point game. They moved to 3-1, and because the Saints lose, they now move to first place in that division, which all of a sudden might be more competitive than people might have thought coming into the year. Who did I pick? I did pick the Eagles. That puts me at 2-3 on the week. Panthers and Bengals. Andy Dalton has the Panthers offense working. They are a little bit more scary. They're still not a playoff team. They're still probably going to find themselves in the top 5, definitely top 10 in the draft next year. But Andy Dalton has this team moving. They seem a little bit more inspired. They're scoring more on offense. And it helped them beat the Raiders last week or 2 weeks ago. And they held close to the Bengals. But the Bengals did what they should have, and they just outscored the Panthers. I am a little bit concerned they gave up 24, but the Bengals finally get into the win column and don't let Andy Dalton get the revenge game, winning this game by 10 points, 34-24. There's at least one team in particular I can think that would have probably liked a veteran backup quarterback in Andy Dalton. A lot of backup quarterbacks performing well this season. That's kind of a storyline. You think Malik Willis went 2-0 for the Packers. They're actually winless with Jordan Love, undefeated without. I think part of that's the opponent they played. You look at Sam Darnold with the Vikings playing really well as a backup, Andy Dalton playing well as a backup. A lot of teams are able to win with their backup quarterbacks right now, and I think that shows either more parity and game planning and coaching, or maybe it shows that uh, outside of a few good quarterbacks, you can win with anybody with the right game plan. Maybe that's the case anyway. Who did I pick? I did pick the Bengals. Puts me back at 500 on the week at 3-3. Moving on to the next game. Texans with just about a walk-off winner over the Jaguars. This game was close. It might have been the Jaguars' best performance of the year. Week 1, they performed really well in the first half. It's the best they've played since then. I don't think the Texans are the world beaters. I think they are still going to win their division. I do think the Texans are not offensively have not looked as good as they have last year. Like I said, I think the Texans are like a 9-8, 10-7 division winner type team. Coming later in this episode, I guess we're going to find out this week. But yeah, Texans found a way to win a game, and that's really all you have to do in the NFL. Good performance. Okay performance. I think with the way the Jaguars have played early on, you would have liked to win by more, especially at home. Yeah. Jaguars still looking for the first win, which is unfortunate for them and their hopes they had coming into the season. Texans moved to 3-1. Way to avoid going to 2-2. That's really all I have to say. Again, I think the Texans are due to take a step back. I think the offense is going to keep getting better, but it's so hard to play to the standard they did last year. Who did I pick to win? I did have the Texans winning that game. And we are moving on to the next game, the Colts and Steelers. Colts winning by 3 points. Steelers made a late charge. Colts had to lead essentially the whole game at home. They moved to 500 at 2-2. I am very frustrated with myself. I was doing prep for this game, and all week I was picking the Colts, and then I sat down to record, and I went with the Steelers because they were undefeated. and I should have stuck to my guns. I should have stuck to my gut and gone with the Colts. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, and it doesn't really matter because I changed my mind and decided to pick the Steelers. But I said this was going to be close, a little bit higher scoring than I thought. But I thought it was going to be like a field goal game, which is exactly what it was. I should have gone with the Colts. My record needed it this week, but I did not. The Steelers pick up their first loss of the season and are 3-1. Thankfully for them, they're still leading the division because the rest of that division, uh, Ravens are 500 and everybody else is below 500. So if you're the Steelers, at least that's a good thing. You're still first place in the division despite a loss. Moving on to the next game. Oh, my bad. Who did I pick? Well, you heard me say it. I picked the Steelers and I should have picked the Colts and was going to and changed my mind. Anyway, past is the past. Let's go to the next game. Bears and Rams. Caleb Williams. This was probably his best game as a pro so far, but he's only played 4 games. So I'm sure most people are thinking this is not going to be the best game of his career, but uh, they obviously are asking for a lot more from him eventually, even by the end of the season. But he got a win over a team that I feel bad for the Rams. I think this is a game that they had to have. This was a winnable game. They needed to win it, I think, and to have a chance. It really puts them in a tough spot for the playoffs at 1-3. I do think there's enough talent on the Rams. They are dealing with some injuries, especially at wide receiver. But Bears with a good performance scored enough points. The Bears defense might be really good this year, and we're not talking about it enough. So kudos to the Bears picking up a massive win. They moved to 2-2. And unfortunately for the Bears, 2-2 is uh, tied for last in their division. That I believe the NFC North is the only division where everybody is 500 or above. So sucks playing in a tough division, but you're off to a good start with your rookie quarterback. Who did I pick to win? I did think the Rams were going to win this game. They did not, obviously. So I was wrong. And we go back under 500. Cardinals and Commanders in what might be the most shocking game of the week. Commanders didn't just go to Arizona and win, an Arizona team that looked to be really, really good. They blew them out. It was an absolute massacre. 42-14. Has Jaden Daniels resurrected the Commanders? Is Jaden Daniels the best quarterback in this draft class? He has been early on. Again, it's only through 4 weeks. Scoring 38 against the playoff hopeful Bengals last week, scoring 42 against the playoff hopeful Cardinals this week. Daniels has that offense rolling. Cliff Kingsbury has that offense rolling. And good performance defensively. I mean, holding the Cardinals to 14 is something a lot of teams haven't been able to do. And the Commanders are all of a sudden sitting at 3-1, with wins over the Giants, Bengals, and Cardinals. They might be the surprise team of the year so far at 3-1. They're right in the thick of it with their division. They're actually, now that I think about it, leading the division all by themselves. Who would have predicted that? We're in October, and the Commanders are leading their division. Just an absolutely phenomenal performance out of them. And if Kingsbury and Daniels keep this offense rolling, they're going to be hard to beat just because you're going to have to score so much. We'll see what happens when they start playing some better defenses, some elite defenses. But right now, you're 3-1, first place. That's all you can ask for. Who did I pick? I did pick the Cardinals because I'm not putting respect on the Commanders' name. That might end this week. I think it's time they have earned respect. Moving on to the next game. 49ers, Patriots, not a whole lot to say. Patriots are a rebuilding team. 49ers are an elite team. They made the Super Bowl last year. Pretty much went how everybody expected. It was never really close, 30-13. 49ers got out by multiple possessions early and kept it that way. Not a whole lot to say. I mean, this is pretty much exactly how I think most people expected it to go. Honestly, if you're the Patriots, I think you're happy that you hit double digits against this 49ers defense, to be truthful. Yeah, not a whole lot else to say because, again, I think this is the result most people were expecting. So neither team, I think, outplayed or underplayed expectations. This is just exactly what you thought was going to happen. Who did I pick? I did pick the 49ers to win, helping out their record a little bit after some losses. Moving on to the next game. The Raiders and the Browns. This is a game that I thought was going to be close. I thought it was going to be pretty low scoring. 20 to 16 is kind of slightly below average scoring, but not low scoring. It was a game I knew was going to be close. Two teams that are off the slow starts this season. But it's a game in which the Raiders found a way to win. I believe it was I don't believe Browns had the lead. I would say the majority of the game. Raiders came around and won it at the end. Brock Bowers looks like an absolute stud for the Raiders. And the Raiders defense is still playing pretty darn well. The Raiders are 2-2. Imagine if they didn't lose to the Panthers week 3, they'd be 3-1 and second place to the Chiefs. Well, they'd be tied with the Chargers, but Raiders off to a 2-2 start. Browns off to a 1-3 start, and I don't know. It's not looking good for the Browns. I don't think there's any quick fix to this offense, and I don't think they're going to find it quick enough to compete with the rest of the teams in their division or in their conference. I think if you're the Browns, clearly Deshaun Watson is not the guy. Clearly, you can't build the team around him anymore like you could in Houston. Is it time to give up on the Deshaun Watson experiment and start contemplating whether or not you want to blow it up? I don't know, but I do think you have to at least consider it. Who did I pick to win? I did think the Browns defense was going to be able to get enough stops to win them this game. They almost were, but they did not, so I lost this game. Moving on, the Chiefs and the Chargers, a divisional battle and Patrick Mahomes has largely dominated the Chargers throughout his career. Chiefs, I think it's a requirement they have to win every game close, and with controversy, all 4 games. But I don't think again, the Chiefs don't care as long as they're winning. They're one of the only 3 undefeated teams. Chargers losing this one. The Chargers didn't look bad. They had an early lead, led for like the entire first half, and then the Chiefs did their thing in the second half. Comeback win. Travis Kelce's best game of the season. I think it'd be a massive help to get him going, especially now that it looks like Rashee Rice is out for the year. If you're Mahomes, that play went from bad to worse. You throw an interception, and then you go and make the tackle, and Rashee Rice looked like he was going for that, come from behind, punch the ball out, and trying to create a fumble to get it back, and then Mahomes went low on the tackle and took out Rashee Rice's knee. So that play went from bad to worse for the Chiefs. So maybe they're probably going to need more out of Xavier Worthy, and they're going to need Kelce to get it going again. But right now, it's Super Bowl champions, undefeated, and they are 20 or they won this game 2017. That's where I was about to go with that, but I meant to say they are 4-0. Chargers, pretty good start to the year. I mean, even their losses, they're playing teams close. That's all you can ask for with a new head coach. I still think you want their offense to score a little bit more, but it would help if they had really good wide receivers. So anyway, who did I pick? I did pick the Chiefs, and we are moving on. Ravens and Bills. This is a game I thought was going to be a lot closer. I still think the Ravens have potential to be the best team in the NFL. I think they have talent at pretty much every position. I think they can be elite. M&T Bank Stadium is not an easy place to play, and I think this Ravens team could be really good. And I think this was the first game that they showed just how good they could be. The Bills have looked like the best team in the NFL all season. They've been blowing everybody out. Their defense has played well despite some back-end injuries. The Josh Allen, this new offense where they're running the ball a little bit more, has looked really, really good. And the Ravens said, yeah, none of that matters. And they just beat the ever-living crap out of the Bills. Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson didn't have a bad game. He had a better game than Allen, but I really think it was the run game. And I see a lot of Jackson or Allen debates on social media after this game. I don't think we can judge it off of one game, especially not when it's a team game. Derrick Henry ran loose for the first time as a Raven. I think that might be their key to success. Run the ball first with Henry and then play action off of it. The Bills, I mean, you're due for a clunker every once in a while. I think every team has at least one clunker, sometimes 2 clunkers a year, and this might have been the Bills. But when you're 3-0, you can take a clunker. They still have a better record than the Ravens. Ravens are 2-2. Bills are 3-1. And in the same place where the Ravens lost to the Raiders after choking a double-digit fourth quarter lead, they blow out the Bills in primetime television, national TV for everybody to see. What a statement by Baltimore. They might be back. If this is the Baltimore we're getting the rest of the year, I don't know if anybody beats them. Who did I pick? I did pick the Bills just based off of how the teams were playing early in the season. I did say the Ravens are going to play them close. And I just didn't think this was going to be the game the Ravens figured it out, but they did. So I did get this one wrong. We are now moving into the last two games of the week, our double Monday night football, or our double header on Monday night football. First game was hideous, especially the first half. Two offenses that were are dreadful. Miami and Tennessee. Tennessee won in a blowout. They kind of got a lot of late points based off of Miami going forward on fourth down and the safety with 2 minutes left, and then they scored again. Ugly game by Miami, and I mean, you have to start to wonder: do you give up on this year? I guess you think if you can win the next two games without Tua and you're just at 3-3, you have a chance to make a run. But the Steelers, they play the Patriots in New England next week. We'll talk about that game. I don't know if that's an easy win. I mean, the Titans have been horrible. They've looked like a bad team all year, and you lost to them by 19 at home. Um, Not a good look by the Dolphins. If Mike McDaniel is the coach he's supposed to be, they have to be better on offense. Everybody else is finding ways to win with a backup quarterback. Even the Titans found a way to win with a backup quarterback against you. You have to figure out a way to do it, especially if you want to make the playoffs. I think one more consecutive loss in the season is probably over for the Dolphins. The Titans pick up their first game or first win of the season. And I'll tell you what, Mason Rudolph looked pretty gosh darn good in relief. And this Miami defense is not bad. I mean, 31 points, but the offense keeps putting them in bad positions. The defense looked good against Seattle. You think it gave up 24 points to the Bills, but because there was a pick six against the Bills and the offense kept putting the defense in bad spots, it has most of the year. That Miami defense not giving up a lot of yards per game, and they are the best third down defense in the NFL. So that Miami defense is ready to win, ready to compete. Who would have thought coming into the year the offense would be the issue? Again, the Titans look good, picking up the first win for the second year in a row. Tennessee goes to Miami and beats them just by being a more physical, more violent football team, and that seems to be Miami's weakness, especially at the line of scrimmage. So kudos to the Titans. I know they said Levis is their quarterback, but if Rudolph keeps playing that well, you might have to double think that decision or rethink it. Who did I pick? I did think the Dolphins starting Tyler Huntley would be enough to beat them. I said it was going to be close. It was not close, and it was not enough to beat them. So I'm wrong. I was wrong in two ways. Rounding out the slate for Week 4 was the Lions and Seahawks, a game between two playoff contenders, two good teams, two teams with high aspirations. And I do believe I called this game shootout, and it certainly was a 42-29 shootout victory for the Lions at home. Seattle's defense has been a little bit shaky all year, especially in the run game. It was shaky everywhere. You give up 42 points, and it usually means you're not doing a whole lot of anything right. Lions gave up a lot of points too, but Seattle's offense has been pretty good to start the year. Seattle was bound to lose eventually. Both of these teams moved to 3-1. Seattle still has the lead in the division. I do think Seattle's defense might hurt them the rest of this year. I think they're going to have to score a good amount of points because teams are going to be able to exploit that run game, and I think elite passing offenses will be able to move it on them a little bit. The Lions starting to get some mojo back after that loss to the Buccaneers, another win, and they're looking good. I don't see too many people talking good about them. I don't see too many people talking bad about them. They're just kind of quietly going about their business, doing what they were supposed to do. A 13-point win helps with that. Who did I pick? I did pick the Lions at home. And here we go. We get to my weekly records, and man, after a great 12-4 week 1, I've kind of stunk it up. I've been 500 the last 3 weeks, 8-8, 9-7, and for the first week of this NFL season, I go below 500 to 7-9 in week 4. Brings my overall record back down to 36-28, which is only 8 games over 500. We made it to 10 last week, and we go back down to 8. I'm telling you, the turnaround's coming, guys. The more I learn about these teams, the farther we get in the NFL season, the more I'm going to learn. And I was hoping I'd be at that point already. I'm going to predict a double-digit win, or I'm going to have a double-digit win record wins this week. I'm going to predict it. I might look stupid next week. The way this NFL season is going, there's a lot of parity, a lot of questions, and not a lot of answers. It's been wacky and crazy. Backup quarterbacks performing well. Teams winning games they shouldn't. Bad teams we thought were bad are good. Teams we thought were good might not be that good. So there's a lot of wacky stuff going on this season. It's made it fun. And with how wacky the start is, who knows? Maybe nobody's actually out of the playoffs left. We still have 13 games to go for everybody. So bye weeks do start this week, so we don't have as many games. We only have 14 instead of 16 coming up this week. But here you can see I'm going to rebound. I promise. My goal is to try and get to 25 to 30 games above 500 minimum. Like that's like where the bar is set. Hopefully even higher than that. So we're going to have to we're kind of on pace, a little bit below. So I say where like you guys are helping me, the audience. It's just me. I need to pick it up. I'm not satisfied with my performance. Anyway, that's enough about that. We are going to move on to week number 5 and predict week number 5. All right. So as we move into week 5, I'm going to give you a refresher of the symbols each week. I'm not going to keep explaining it. I think you guys can read. We probably remember from the last couple weeks. So again, I'm going to leave the refresher here, but not going to talk about it too much. So let's get into week 5. Falcons Buccaneers, Thursday Night Football in Atlanta. You can see we are starting the week with a top 5 game, in my opinion. That's sometimes rare with Thursday Night Football with the NFL rules. But I think this is a really good game, a really, really compelling divisional game. The winner of this could be in first place. If the Falcons win, both teams are 3-2. If the Buccaneers win, they stay in first place by themselves. Falcons, again, I'm a little bit worried about their offense. Their defense is performing really well, but I'm a little bit worried about their offense. I still think they're underperforming. I don't know if it's a play calling issue or Kirk Cousins issue. I don't know what's going on. I'm kind of undecided, but I think the Falcons offense has the potential to put up 25 to 30 points per game, and they're not doing it. Hopefully, again, sometimes it takes time for teams to coalesce, takes time for teams to put it all together, and then they put it all together and they look really good. Maybe that's what's going to happen with the Falcons. It's still early, and there's a lot of new or moving pieces on that offense. Buccaneers have the offense figured out for the most part. Defense looks pretty good, and the Buccaneers might be the best team in this division. I know I said coming into the year, I think it's the Falcons, and I think the Falcons have the highest potential in the division, but the Buccaneers might actually be the best team. Falcons at home, Thursday Night Football. And I think this is going to be a really close, interesting game, just like the Falcons and the Saints were. I don't think there's too much separating the Saints, Buccaneers, and Falcons when they're playing their best. So there could be a really interesting 3-team race to watch the rest of the way. I am going to pick the Falcons. I give them a slight edge Thursday night because, again, for the third time, they're home on Thursday Night Football. I still believe in that advantage. And I do think the Falcons are figuring it out, and I do think by the end of the season they're going to be the better team. I think they make a statement win, and they get to 3-2 and put the Bucs at 3-2. In fact, I think this is going to be such a good game. I'm going to blow my game of the week pick early on Thursday Night Football. It was a competition between 2 other games and this one. I think any of them could be game of the week, but I think we have a really good Thursday Night National Football game of the week opportunity here. I think it could be really good. Moving on, we have our second top 5 game. This was not running for game of the week. This is probably 4 or 5 on my list. But if the Jets ever do what they're supposed to do, and with how the Vikings have played, this could be a really, really good game to watch. It could be a little bit of a shootout. But Vikings 4-0 at home against the New York Jets, who are looking to rebound after a tough loss to Denver. They're trying to get to 3-2. It's a game against Denver. They probably feel like they should have won because they're the better team. Dallas just keeps on proving, or Dallas, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said that. The Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings, proving to everybody that they are to be taken seriously. And I like I said, I think I can't pick against them right now. I think I have picked against them all 4 weeks. I definitely have 3 of the 4 weeks. and that stops right now. I'm going to pick the Vikings to win this just because they're playing better than the Jets. Sometimes that's all it takes. I do think the Vikings defense has been a little bit spotty at times. Um, Despite Flores being at the helm, they've given up a lot of point, or they gave up a lot of points last week. They really haven't most of the year. I think they figure out the Jets' offense, despite how talented it is. The Jets' offense hasn't figured themselves out. So yeah, I'm going to pick the Vikings for what I think is the first time all season, which means they'll probably lose. And if that's the case, I'm sorry, Vikings fans, if I jinx you. But we're going to go with the Vikings and the Jets going back under 500. The next game, this is tough. Everybody thinks Miami has enough talent on their roster to win, and they should. It's in New England. New England's been playing tough physical football. What did Miami struggle with against the Titans? Tough physical football. They might lose the battle in the line of scrimmage. I think they definitely do. With their offensive line, I think New England can bully it a little bit defensively, and with a backup quarterback, that's not good. If you can't run the ball, if you can't protect, it's going to look ugly. Although they did protect in the pass a little bit, Miami did. Tyler Huntley missed some throws to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill arguably should have had 2 or 3 touchdowns on deep routes last game. Hope maybe another week cleans that up. Dolphins have not looked good with the backup quarterback. I truthfully think the Dolphins are 3-1 right now with 2. I think they win Seattle and Tennessee, but you don't have your starter. Mike McDaniel has got to figure out a way to do it. Has got to figure out how to win this game. This is if they lose another game, I'm not going to put rebounding. I think if Miami loses this game, not only do I think there's cracks developing in the locker room and it might completely fracture with a loss against a team that they think they're better than. I think 1-4, even with Tua coming back soon, I think that's going to be too big of a hole, especially because they have a lot of tough teams left on their schedule. So this is unless Miami wins, this is going to be the last time all season you'll see a rebound logo for them. And again, the Patriots are really tough and physical, and I think that it's going to hurt Miami because sometimes Miami's run defense has been a little bit shaky, even though overall the defense has been good. And I think New England's defense dominates Miami's offense at the point of attack. So while I think it's a game Miami can win, if their offense ever figures it out, because their offense has been the worst in the NFL to start the season. But I think it's a closer game. I maybe New England blows them out, but I think it's a game that if Miami does what they're supposed to do on offense, they win. But I don't think they do. I think this offense is really bad with Tua, and I think New England is going to get the win. I'm just saying there's a possibility here that the Dolphins find some mojo. In fact, I think this game, 2 bad teams, both of these teams are 1-3. I think this is going to be my toilet bowl game of the week. I think it's going to be ugly, kind of like the Titans. The Dolphins, we are 5 weeks into the season, and you already have your second toilet bowl game of the week. What is going on? They are the first team to 2 toilet bowl games, if I remember correctly. The Titans, I know, have at least one. The Commanders and Giants both have one from week 2, but yeah, the Dolphins, you're the first team to 2 toilet bowl games of the week. Get it figured out, guys. I mean, it's embarrassing. New England ain't that great either. If you're going to skip a game, skip this one. It's a 1:00 game. Plenty of other games going on at the same time. Cincinnati and Baltimore. Coming into the year, this looked like a game that could be between 2-3-1, 2-2. Really good divisional opponents, really good playoff contenders, and Cincinnati's last in their division. They're 1-3. Baltimore seems like they have it figured out. In the past, I think Cincinnati kind of shows up and beats Baltimore, kind of like they show up for the Chiefs. And I really, really want to pick Cincinnati here. They finally got a win. Not only did they get a win, they looked a little bit better. Still worried about their defense. But Cincinnati usually shows up for Baltimore. Cincinnati shows up for big games. What lets them down is when they don't show up for the games they should win. I think this game is a lot closer than some people might think it is. Cincinnati's definitely going to be there, but I think Baltimore wins. They're riding high off of a big win last week. The defense has it figured out. The offense has it figured out. I think both teams are going to have good offenses and be able to score, but I think Baltimore's defense is better. I know it's better. They pride themselves on defense in Baltimore, and I think the defense is what's going to elevate Baltimore to a victory this week. I do think it's close. I think this might be like 27-24, 34-31, 34-28, somewhere in that low 30s to high 20s range. And because Baltimore's defense is a little bit better, I think they're going to get some stops. But if Cincinnati wins, maybe they're putting together a winning streak and showing people some stuff. Who knows? Moving on, Jacksonville and Indianapolis in a game that's going to be really, really close. However, I really want to pick Jacksonville to pick up their first win of the season here. I think it's very possible. They're at home against a divisional opponent they know well. The team played better last week, but I think Indianapolis figures it out. I think I actually trust Indianapolis more if Joe Flacco plays than Anthony Richardson. I'm going to go with the Colts just because of season-long results, but it will not surprise me at all if the Jaguars win this game. And again, I think the I think right now it's like 55% Indianapolis, 45% Jacksonville. I think if Anthony Richardson plays, it's more of a toss-up. I think if Joe Flacco plays, I lean a little bit more towards Indianapolis. But yeah, Indianapolis is also is a little bit better defensively. They've been good defensively against everybody they've played. The offense is a little bit even. Lawrence is finally needs to step up, and maybe this is the game Trevor Lawrence gets it going. I'm going to start with the Colts, but I don't love it. Commanders and Browns. We've talked a little bit about both of these teams. The Commanders are going to be at home in the worst stadium in the NFL. And they don't care right now, though. They think they got their franchise quarterback, and it certainly seems that way. They're 3-1, looking to go 4-1. The Browns are trying to get their second win. They look really bad. Browns have the better defense than the Commanders do. The Browns' defense has been good all year, and maybe they can take advantage of a young quarterback. But Cliff Kingsbury, that might not matter the way he's calling plays right now. The battle is definitely to watch in this game is definitely going to be strength versus strength when it's Washington's offense against Cleveland's defense. Cleveland's offense is really bad. The Commanders' defense is pretty bad. All that said, I think the Commanders get the win. I think Jaden Daniels, they're coming into this game with a lot of confidence. I think they're coming into this game saying we are good, and the Browns are worse than us. They only have one win. We're better, and I think they win because of their confidence and Cliff Kingsbury's ability to call plays for a young quarterback. I think the Commanders are going to win this one. It might be tighter than people think. I don't think Washington's going to be able to drop 38 or 42 on Cleveland. They're probably going to hit the 20s. I don't think they're quite going to get into the 30s. But quite frankly, 21.3 touchdowns, that 20 to 24 point range might be enough to beat the Browns with Deshaun Watson as quarterback. Moving on to the next game, we have another top 5 game of the week. 2 playoff teams from last year, the Texans and the Bills. The Bills looking to rebound after a very bad loss. I'm going to go with, I think the Bills are still the better team. I think the Bills have been here longer. They're established. I think they're going to remind the Texans how good teams are. I think the Bills are the best team the Texans have played all year. I do think the Bills are better than the Vikings. I would pick them in a head-to-head. So for anybody asking, what about the Vikings that the Texans have played, I do think the Bills are better. I think the Bills get the rebound. I think the Bills' defense gets enough stops. And I think Texans' defense has a little bit more trouble stopping Buffalo than they have had stopping the other team so far. Remember last time the Texans played a good team and a good offense in Minnesota against Minnesota, they lost 34-7. I think the Bills win this one. I think it's a little bit closer than 34-7. I want to say around 10 points, but it could very well be a one possession game, especially if CJ Stroud keeps building chemistry with Stephon Diggs. He already has chemistry with Nico Collins. Maybe even Tank Dell will finally get involved. I do not believe Tank Dell has a catch all season, or he has like 3 or 4 catches for not a lot of yards, and he was a guy that looked to be a potential number 1 or a really good number 2 for Houston last year before he got hurt. Again, this is an interesting game. It's between 2 teams that should make the playoffs, but again, I think the Bills win this one. And I don't think they'll sweat it too much. Maybe it's a little bit close late, but I think the Bills are going to get successfully rebound and get the 4-1 here. And I believe the Texans, are they 3-1 or 2-2? Either way, doesn't matter. I was going to, just in case, I I'm asking because I'm like, do the Texans fall under 500 early on? But I think they're 3-1. Moving on to the next game. Chicago Bears and the Panthers. This could be a spot where the Panthers get a win and move to 2-3. I mean, Andy Dalton has that offense moving really well, but the Bears defense is really, really good. This is another game that's kind of a toss up. I'm going to lean the Bears because they're at home. Caleb had the best performance of the season last week. I think he's going to get better every single week. I still don't know if I think he's going to live up to the hype, but I don't think he's going to be horrible. Bears, I think, are going to do just enough to win this one. I think this game could be kind of ugly. I think it's going to be in that 16 to 23, 16 to 24 range with both teams. The Bears are definitely the best defense that the Panthers have seen since Andy Dalton has been the starter, and I think that's going to show in the scoreboard. There's more tape on it, and I think the Bears are going to be able to score just enough to get past the Panthers at home. Wouldn't shock me if the Panthers find a way to another win. I just think the Bears are the slightly better team as at the minute. A divisional battle between two teams that hate each other in the Broncos and the Raiders. Both of them are 2-2 early on. Both of them have some impressive wins. Both of them have some losses that they probably would like to have back. I guess Denver, because they're coming off of a better victory with the Jets are when the Raiders beating the Browns. I think this is close. I think this is another defensive struggle. I think it's a defensive war. The Broncos aren't scoring a lot of points this year. The Raiders aren't, and both defenses have been pretty good at containing teams below 20, like three, we'll say 3 touchdowns. So I think this might be a game in the single digits. I kind of want a game where both teams are in the single digits. Every once in a while, I like a good old-fashioned rock fight. You hear me say rock fight a lot because it's one of my favorite expressions in football, and sometimes they really are interesting to watch. This game could be really, really low scoring. I think it is. And then it comes down to who do I trust more, Bo Nix or Gardner Minshew? I would trust Gardner Minshew more, but I trust the Broncos coaching staff more than the Raiders coaching staff. I really think this is a 50-50 toss-up. This is a pick-em game. I guess I'll pick the Broncos because they're home, but it would not surprise me at all to see the Raiders win this one like 15-14 or something like that. It could very well be a 1-point game. I'm going to pick the Broncos for now, but I've might change. I could legitimately change my mind before the end of the video and go with the Raiders. Here we go. We have the 49ers and Cardinals. Cardinals looking to rebound after a tough, embarrassing home loss. That was not a good look, and they're going into San Francisco, a divisional rival who San Francisco seems like they're starting to refine their footing after falling to 1-2. At least they did last week. Again, it was against a not very good Patriots team, but this is the last time. If the Cardinals lose this game, I'm going to stop putting the rebound symbol. They're kind of in the same boat that I have the Dolphins in. They desperately need a win. If not, it's not going to be looking very good for a season-long outlook for them. I don't know where Cardinals fans, I don't know where the media, had the Cardinals. I think a lot of people had them good enough to win games, but not good enough to make the playoffs, which is kind of a bad place to be. I think you either want a high draft pick or you want to be in the playoffs. And I think Arizona, well, if they lose this game, they could very well be on their way to a top 10 pick. But I think Arizona, talent-wise, is somewhere around 15 in the league, right in the middle of the pack. I do think San Francisco wins this game despite their injuries. I think for San Francisco, the main thing for them is just treading water as guys continue to come back and get healthy. Who knows what happens with Christian McCaffrey, but the 49ers under Shanahan have been really good about finding running backs that may not be elite and finding a way to run the offense even with them. Mason has looked pretty good filling in for McCaffrey. Obviously, nobody can replace McCaffrey, but I think the running back play right now is good enough for them. I think the 49ers find a way to win this game. I don't know what to think about Arizona anymore. They've had some really, really good games. Even in some of their losses, they've had a really, really good win where they blew out the Rams at home, but then the very next week they get blown out, or 2 weeks later they get blown out by the Commanders at home. So I don't know what to think of the Cardinals, and because of that uncertainty, I'm going to go with the 49ers, who are a more sure product. Moving on to the Rams and Packers, both teams looking to rebound. It's not an elimination game for the Packers. It probably is for the Rams. They're in a similar boat as the Cardinals that we just talked about. A loss would be really bad for them. It would put them at 1-4. I think last week was such a must win for the Rams because of how tough their early season is. They win last week against a team they're probably better than. They moved to 2-2. And now you're sitting here. You can probably absorb another loss if you need to. This is much more of a must win. If you're the Packers and you want to have any hope at winning the division, I don't think you can lose this week because then you're in danger of being 2-3. The Vikings could move to 5-0. The Lions could move to 4-1, and you're 2-3 games back, and you've already lost to the Vikings. So if the Packers, I don't think losing is a death sentence to the playoff hopes. It's definitely not going to be a good sign for their division hopes. Jordan Love is back for the Packers, and he has still not won a game this year. I think this is close. I think both of these teams play with some urgency. I do think the Packers get the win in the end just because they're healthier. The Rams are still missing a lot of key pieces, especially at receiver. I'm a little bit worried about their pass defense against the Packers. The Packers will definitely test your pass defense. And I think because of those reasons, I think the Packers are going to find a way to win this game, even if it means having to put 40 on the board. Seahawks and Giants, not a lot to say about this. Out of all 32 NFL teams, the Giants might be the team I find the least interesting and the team that I care the least about, which is crazy because they're a massive market. They're a pretty popular team. And they have some interesting storylines going on there with Daniel Jones. Can he keep his job? Can Brian Dable keep his job? Watching them sucks. And to me, there's not a lot interesting. So I don't have a lot to say about the Giants, except I think they're bad. The Seahawks need a rebound. They're going to be at home against a bad team, which is what you want to be doing if you're looking to rebound. So Seahawks at home against a bad Giants team. I think the Seahawks score some points here. Giants, like I said earlier in the video, look like they're getting a little bit better and are going to be able to keep this close. But I think the Seahawks are going to win this fairly easily, probably double digits. Maybe the Giants surprise me like they did against the Cowboys and they keep it close. That's about all I have to say. Like I said, I really don't care about the Giants. I'm kind of apathetic towards them, which is worse than hating them, I think. So, but yeah, Seahawks win this game at home. Moving into Sunday Night Football, and man, if this was the 1970s, this game would be even crazier. Two all-time great teams with massive fan bases, two teams that have won a lot in their history. They expect winning. Steelers looking to rebound after a tough, close loss to the Colts. Playing the Cowboys. They're at home in prime time. This is another top 5 game of the week. 2-2 Cowboys versus 3-1 Steelers. I really want to pick the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are the better team when healthy, but the Cowboys are not healthy. I think Micah Parsons is a massive loss. The Cowboys defense has been leaky at time. The Steelers have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Although last week it looked a little bit sketchy. I really, really want to pick the Cowboys because I think they're the overall better team, but I think the Cowboys are going to have trouble getting stops. I think the Steelers are going to play that old school, run the football, play really good defense, and Justin Fields keeps looking better and better for them. So I think the Steelers win this game. Again, I think it's closer to a toss-up than it is to a definitive Steelers win. But just because Micah Parsons is hurt and the Steelers offense or the Cowboys offense is hot and cold, I think the Steelers defense holds the Cowboys down enough where the offense can score enough points to win. That is my official prediction, which would put the Cowboys under 500 and the Steelers at 4-1, which would both be, in my opinion, unexpected from where we thought they'd be coming into the year. Last game of the week, Monday Night Football between the Saints and the Chiefs. This is the last top 5 game of the week for me. Saints looking to rebound. They've lost 2 in a row after their fantastic start to the season. It was a close loss to the Eagles, a close loss to the Falcons. Remember, after scoring almost 100 points combined in their first 2 games, 47 and 43 or something like that, they lost the last 2 games by a combined 5 points to teams that are probably playoff caliber. The Chiefs can't win anything by more than a single possession. So I think this game is going to be no different. It's going to be close. I do think the Chiefs are going to hold the Cowboys or hold the. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Cowboys, guys. I'm sorry. I don't even really like the Cowboys that much. I really don't like their fan base. Sorry, Cowboys fans, but you guys are kind of annoying with all the we them boys. This is our year talk. Side ran over. I'm going to try my best to stop saying Cowboys. The Saints. The Saints, I don't think they're good enough to go into Kansas City and beat the defending Super Bowl champs. And at the end of the day, I think this game is close. I'm a little bit worried about the Saints offense. Like I said, week 2, I think there's regression coming. I didn't think it would be quite this much this fast. I don't think they're good enough as a team. I think their offense is slightly worse than the Chiefs. I think their defense is slightly worse than the Chiefs. So I don't see how they come out of here without one of those things changing. And again, I think the Saints are good. I don't think they're going to walk in the Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. Even the best teams in the NFL have trouble doing that. So I don't think they get the rebound. I think they go on a 3-game losing streak. I think the Chiefs stay undefeated. The Saints have a chance. They have a better chance than a lot of other teams do. I just don't think they have enough of a chance to complete the upset. Here you go. This is a summary of all of my picks this week, who I think is going to win, who I think is going to lose. I also have the 4 bye week teams at the bottom, as you can see. So again, these are my picks. Don't bet with them. I'm not using spread or anything, but I'm also just kind of a guy who thinks he knows something talking. So never use any of my picks if you are a gambler. Not that I think anybody would. I'm not that important. But once again, summary, bye weeks. We are officially in bye week season for like the next 10 weeks. Although the bye weeks are weird this year. There's some weeks where there's no teams off, and then there's like 6 teams off. I don't know why we couldn't just try and do it a little bit more evenly, but oh well. Once again, everybody, thank you for coming to episode 5 of Ben on Sports and his NFL weekly predictions. It means a lot that everybody keeps coming back. I hope you keep coming back. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. That is a massive help to me. It's a massive help to any YouTube creators you like. Don't be afraid to comment some suggestions that you might have. Come over and follow me on X. We have fun over there, like I always say. And I'm live tweeting a lot about the MLB playoffs right now. So if that's something that interests you, who knows what sport I might get on a rant on on X. But again, like, comment, subscribe. That's always the best way to help creators. Thank you guys for spending time watching every week. I hope you can keep continuing to do so. Have another great week, everybody. Peace.